And here we are. Come in, come in. It's been a while since I was last here, so please excuse the dust. Housekeeper's day off and all that. Follow me and I'll take you to my workshop. Our task ahead of us may be a daunting one, but with the right planning, and more importantly, the right equipment, even the toughest of challenges can be child's play. So, why don't you light that fire over there and fix us up a brew? Oh, don't touch that.
The thing I always say, there's a couple of things. I mean, one is your character is a vehicle to enjoy the event.
That is the disembodied head of wisdom. Be careful though, it sometimes bites. Right. Well, I gave up a few of the essentials. I shall continue with the noobs at LARP.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the LARP Noobs podcast. I'm Dave and I'm joined with a couple of very, very special guests today. If you'd like to introduce yourselves and tell us what you do.
I'm Clare Evans. I'm part of the game team for Profound Decisions. I run all the player support side of the event, so new players, new player introductions, backgrounds, the egregores, civil service.
Award-winning Clare Evans, I should say.
Yes.
In 2018, ladies and gentlemen, the best player support in the UK, would that be?
Yes.
Crew member of the year.
Crew member of the year. I did notice though they didn't have that as an option this year though.
It was, Profound Decisions came second with Anti-Rav.
Oh, second?
Yes.
Ah. Who beat you?
Woody Bevan from iLARP beat us.
Well, they must be pretty good then.
He is pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, damn.
Yeah.
And introduce yourself.
I'm David Kibblewhite. I'm now one of 3 Brushkin egregores and spend now the majority of the event, to be honest, as plot writer.
Mm-hmm. And also, this is Dave Kibblewhite, who made Beth Duna cry at an event, I heard.
At least once.
Yeah, the infamous. Yeah, before the episode, I messaged her and was saying, "Oh, I'm having Claire and Dave on this." Yeah, first thing she said, "Oh yeah, he made me cry." That was the first thing he said about it. It was like, "Oh, he'll be perfect for the podcast then."
Yeah. It was in character.
It was in character. Yeah, it wasn't just you were mean to her over Facebook or anything, right? No. And he said that you gave her.
You did enjoy it though.
Yes.
You did give her a really nice hug afterwards, she said, so that was, decent.
Yeah, it sounds like me.
Yeah, sure. Right, so we're going to kind of talk about a few new things to do with being a new player at LARP. We'll start off with some basic stuff and maybe we'll move into more complicated stuff. So if you are a more experienced player, we're going to go through some stuff that you probably already know, but bear with us and we'll maybe get to stuff that you might find a bit more interesting. So, Empire. Let's go through kind of like what is Empire, what is Anvil, let's kind of talk about that sort of stuff. So Empire is the setting, right? We are in the Empire.
It's a huge question, isn't it?
Yeah, right?
Because it is another world, and we've tried so hard to create another world with its own religion and currency and everything like that. So it's a huge question. So all our players are citizens of the Empire, are members of a nation within the Empire. We are surrounded by foreigners and barbarians who want various different things from us, either to take our land or to convert us, or...
You're going to say freedom, aren't you?
I wasn't going to say freedom.
You
I was going to say souls.
You are also giving the impression that the Empire are always the moral high ground in any of this, and from what I understand, the Empire aren't always the goodies in this narrative,
I think the Empire usually think they're the goodies.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like every nation, there's never been an offensive war fought in history, right? It's always been a defensive. We're protecting ourselves. We have to invade. Yeah, exactly,
yes,
right?
Yes.
So, yeah, I see that a lot when I kind of hear about the politics.
Of course, we used to in the new player meetings explain recent history of the Empire. And it basically got too embarrassing, so we stopped.
yeah. And that's the army's murdered all the civilians in that area. So
and then they opened up a 15th front.
Yeah.
So we just stopped at that because it didn't sound good.
Yeah. So Empire is like the literally it is an empire. It takes up 9 nations, is it? 10 nations. Sorry,
you missed the orcs, didn't you?
No, I was going to miss off Brass Coast. Why not Brass Coast? I don't know anyone in Brass Coast. I'm sure they won't be offended. So yeah, they've got like a variety of different nations which you can kind of join. They have their own distinct feel and vibe and cultural customs things, right?
Yeah, so it's very important that we keep the nations distinct because it looks better on the field.
Mm-hmm.
It gives us more roleplay opportunities because all the nations have something that conflicts a little bit with the Empire. And in character, we justify this by the original Empress, when she formed the Empire, decided that it was our differences that made us strong.
I used to be, when I first went to Empire, I generally got the feeling that the nations were fairly arbitrary. They were very skin deep. The more I play the game, the more I see kind of a lot more nuance within those nations. And I don't know if you'll agree or not, but I think certain personality types are maybe drawn to different nations more, right? Like, but there's also a feedback loop of those briefs reinforcing maybe those personality types, right?
Yeah, it's very easy to stereotype the nations as, Navarra Scouts, the League are posh, Wintermark are warriors, Brass Coast like singing, but there's a lot more depth in all of them. I don't know if you're aware, but Dave wrote a big chunk of the Wintermark brief.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's good to hear what you just said about how you think there's some depth to those nation briefs, and how like there's maybe a good level of overlap, but not too much overlap. Because it took a long time to write those briefs, and there was a lot of thought that went into making them that way.
Oh, definitely. Also, I didn't really read the wiki that much before. I'm dyslexic, so I tend to find large bodies of text fairly intimidating. And I found I think we should actually talk about this, right? Like, so I posted recently on one of the Empire groups about what you should read up on the wiki before you go to an event. Yeah, it's an interesting, and some of the answers, there was some pretty big overlap on some of the answers, but some of them were kind of interesting how specific some people were with it, right?
So I get a lot of emails that say, how do I join? How do I get involved? So the first thing I say to people is you should read the front page of all the nation briefs.
Yeah.
Just the front page.
Yeah.
And then work out which one appeals to you. Because there will be some. And then each nation brief has, I think, the 5 core pages linked at the bottom, then additional reading. So when you found the nation that appeals to you, or the 2 or 3 that appeal to you, have a look at the 5 core pages and narrow it down even further.
Yeah.
And then after that, I think people think they need to read the entire wiki, but it's more like Wikipedia. And anybody who says they've read all of Wikipedia is A, lying, and B, odd.
Yeah. I think it's one of the weird things. I think that sometimes the wiki can give you an impression of it being used as a weapon against you on the field or something to catch you out. I don't think that's what it's ever intended for or should be used for, right? Like, if you don't know something as a new player and someone makes you feel bad for not knowing it, that's their mistake, not yours, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That it's your job as a more experienced player to maybe RP with that person and explain things about how the world actually works, right? Like, knowledge should never be used as a weapon. It should be something that should be shared, right?
Yeah, it's a bit of a minefield for NPCs as well. Yeah. Because if you're going to be an NPC for Empire on the Anvil field, then you need to know not one nation brief, but all 10. And invariably, the player who you're talking to knows the brief better than you do, because they only need to know one.
Right.
Yeah, we quite often get people coming to us asking to NPC for the game because they've been told it's an easier option.
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah, if you play, you need to know one nation brief. If you NPC, you need to know 10.
Yeah, no, that sounds extremely intimidating, to be honest. That's,
More arguably, because you've also got foreign nations and barbarians.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Heralds and...
Right. So wiki-wise, have a quick browse through all the different nations, see which nations you like the look of, go into a bit more depth into those specific nations, and you'll probably find which one you like, right?
Yeah, something will just stick out at you and really appeal to you, and then go into more depth on that one. And then I see nothing wrong at all with, the same as you do on Wikipedia, go down the wormhole and following the links.
Yeah, it's interesting how I definitely did that with my character. In fact, more now than I did before. Actually, I'll get to that stuff in a bit. But so we've gone through your nation. You've decided.
We were talking about. We've recently done some work on the Festival of the Reaper for the League, and while we were doing that, Luggage, who's one of the League egregores, pointed Matt at a page on the wiki that he didn't know. So
there's just a lot there, right? Like, there's thousands of pages of information. Like, trying to take all of that in. But that's maybe what's nice about even on a real world type thing. Not everybody knows everything about everything, right?
Exactly.
And you can all bring something to the party effectively by having your own perspective on something, right? Like, if you only study Navarre history,
that's what you're an expert in.
Exactly, and you might see
to know about dramaturgy,
and you see everything from a Navarre-centric world point of view, right? And you might not understand, well, from a Wintermark point of view, this was a massive tragedy, right?
Yeah.
Like it's it's
but that gives you the differences in the field to talk about.
Yeah, which I absolutely love is the kind of like the when you're all in a bar or in the place where you can buy food, what's it called, the Moorish place or whatever,
Moorish.
which is great. Is actually that's so dumb. There's a kind of weird tension to everyone sometimes when you're talking about something or you cuss out another nation and then they overhear. You know, it's this nice. You really feel defined as a nation when you're there and playing it. You know. Right, other things to read on the wiki. Rules.
Rules is good. There's a really nice cheat sheet. I think we handed them out at the New Play meeting last year, so you might have got one. That PDF for that is linked from the rules page.
Right, so you can kind of download stuff and have a good read through that.
Yeah.
I would say though that the do read that, and there's also Code of Conduct, which is obviously very important. Code of Conduct, honestly, when you read it, it's all really straight. I found it extremely straightforward. Right, there's nothing in there that I was like surprised by or anything like that. You know what I mean? There's nothing too hard line, or just don't be a dick to anyone, really, right?
That's the general premise. I mean, we're conscious that the real world is pretty rubbish in a lot of ways, and we don't want that at events. People come to events to enjoy the event, not to deal with real life discrimination. It's something I'm quite passionate about, the Code of Conduct, because people have a right to not be misgendered, to not be mistreated, to not be
marginalised.
Yes, that was the word I meant.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I haven't come into contact with that. I haven't seen that. I haven't experienced it, but then again, I probably wouldn't, right? Like, so, I don't know. I think it's worthwhile reading, but I don't think there's anything in there.
It's worthwhile reading because those rules are on par with the game rules.
Yeah, and I think there's really important things like, say, if you are the sort of person that thinks that women can't fight, then
that's just a completely alien mindset for the Empire.
Exactly, because everyone does everything, right? And there is no real gender rules or understanding, right? So it's a lot more. I don't know. I think if you're going to take your own prejudices, you're probably aware that you have your own prejudices, and you should probably keep them to yourself anyway, right? Like,
yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, it's just just how it is, right? But
you also have to watch your unconscious biases, which we've all got.
Yeah.
So that's why there's the stuff in there about not referring to mixed groups as guys and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think we all I definitely mess up sometimes. Like I'll say the odd thing, but I think that's it's, as long as it's not in a I think like there's it's not, you won't get booted off the field immediately for saying something like that. I think that intent is also very important. Right?
There's a huge difference between accidental and intent.
Yeah.
But
you're also not allowed to chew someone's head off for getting it wrong. That's also in the conduct rules.
Yeah, it's because we want it to be a welcoming space.
Actually, inclusive in all ways, right? Yeah, good. Right, what else we've got? Rules, Code of Conduct, wiki page. Oh, then we start going on to character creation, maybe, because we can get to the actual event in a minute. But
yeah.
So one thing I found was when I was creating my character, I was like...
So why did you pick Navarre?
A guy at work said it would be a good idea. And then I was like, okay, let's go Navarre. And then I read up on Navarre.
Excellent.
Nice.
Right.
So I did it exactly the right way. Nailed it. I think, I had like some I had some worries about Navarre. I think we all felt it might be a bit like tree elfy and a bit fey and a bit kind of like, like not really us necessarily. But when we got there, I love Navarre. Like, I absolutely love being a Navarre. I'm really proud of the nation.
Yes.
I love the way we fight. I love the people that make up the nation. I love everything about it. You know what I mean? So that's where I am now. So maybe I did it slightly back to front. But it's interesting to see how passionate other people are about their nation, right? Like, it's certainly not... Navarre's definitely the best because I like it. There's a lot of other people that would argue till they're red in the face about how awesome their nation is,
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I know. Do you have a favourite nation, Clare?
Oh, you can't. So my civil servant character is a Suag.
What's a Suag?
It's one of the 3 traditions of Wintermark.
Ah, see, the Wintermark is a big blob to me. I need to do more research on it, but they really are a big blob to me right now. I need to go and make some Wintermark friends and learn a
The
lot.
Suak are the if there's a real world parallel, it's the sort of Inuit Sami type side.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So lots of furry stuff, I guess, right?
Yeah, for practical mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Inside out fur coats with
Inside
animals
out
painted
fur
on them.
coats, yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I find it's yeah. Go through we won't go into we won't nerd out too badly on all the different nations, which we are kind of doing right now. But I highly recommend going through, reading some of the wikis, having a look through, and find your flavour that you really, really like. Like Brass Coast, I find them really cool. The League are awesome. Really like the League.
The League are fascinating.
Yeah, the League are fascinating.
Yes.
Yeah, they're so yeah, definitely go around and visit these when you actually go to the event, because you'll know which camp you're in. If you don't know, just go and ask someone.
I love it when everybody's going on the battlefield and you can see where one nation stops and one starts because of costume and how they approach the gate. And
or if you're monstering and you're doing your thing, and then the Imperial Orcs come round and they wheel on you, you're like, we're about to have a terrible time. Like the Orcs legitimately are a really strong force on the battlefield, and different nations react in different ways, right? Fantastic. Right, character creation. Let's stay focused here. Character creation. So you go to go to PD, you register your account, and then you create your character.
So there's hundreds of different ways to create a character and what appeals to you. I mean, I always go for sort of name and personality and then skills, and other people want to be a warrior and start with the skills and work back.
Mm-hmm.
The important thing is, I think, is to think about what you're going to do during the day.
Yeah.
Because there's 2 battles, one on Saturday and one on Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll monster the one you play,
Mm-hmm.
but there still leaves you the rest of the day to do something with.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you've tied up everything about your character in fighting,
Well,
you need to think of something to do with those other 12 hours.
I went straight up fighty, basically. Well, the El Generico of LARP characters, like a fighty fawn character, which is like a warrior type class or whatever, and that's kind of what I did. I'm still really happy with that, by the way. That's not something that I want to get away from. There are a religious aspect to it that you can maybe go on to with the different virtues and understanding that stuff. That can be fairly intimidating as a new player, because obviously you're picking up a religion, right? So
of course with the religion, I think the really important thing to say is there aren't any gods.
No.
It's a humanist religion. I don't really understand humanism that well in real life, but it's about espousing your virtue and your pride and how that affects your life or your.
It's sticking to certain values that will, living by those values will at your point of death, you go to a labyrinth, and it's how well you lived your life will be how fast you pass through the labyrinth, right? Awesome concept, love it. So the idea that if someone dies, well, you'll be reunited with that person at some point in the future. If they were really virtuous people, they're going to be right back around again in no time, So,
unless they ascend.
Unless they ascend. Oh, what's the ascending? I don't even know about the ascending. What's this? So they
Paragons.
So is this like a Buddhist Zen state where they become... Or we don't even know.
Paragons don't reincarnate, do they?
No.
Right. A paragon, you've escaped the labyrinth.
Jesus. Heavy. Well, something for my character Ifan to aspire towards.
And then there's a whole range of questions about there, because have they reincarnated and you don't know? Are they still lost in the labyrinth? There's a whole range of questions.
Yeah, and this is the other thing which is really good. Also, we should mention, when you're being intimidated by the wiki, the game has deliberately built in some wiggle room and a lot of different factors, right? You can have a full-blown conversation and people will have differing opinions, even if they're very well versed in all of the wiki, right?
But we could both follow vigilance and have screaming arguments about it.
Exactly, right? And then what is a virtuous action, or how to behave, or something like that, right?
But you're right. If an experienced player comes to a new player in character and tells them that their opinion is wrong, that doesn't necessarily mean that out of character they've got the wrong opinion. They're just disagreeing in character, and either view is equally valid.
Yeah. So. Okay, so what are the different choices? So you've got your nation, you've got your employment, is that right? Or your class?
Archetype.
Archetype, that's the word I was looking for. And they range from fighty to to like being a priest almost, isn't there? There's a few other different classes in there. It depends. I think they're nation dependent though, aren't they?
So archetypes are sort of suggested ways that you could take your character. I suppose it's a bit like an advanced class in D&D.
Yeah, I mean, there's specific roles within the nation, and there isn't necessarily a fight. There isn't necessarily a fighter, a priest, a magician, a trader for each nation, but that's the kind of things that they might be.
Yeah, they're kind of a lot more. You can dip in and out of a lot of different things, right? But it's kind of like just kind of semi-defining yourself.
In Wintermark, you have the Grimneers, which, if you looked at it in simplicity, you'd just say these are the healers.
Yeah.
But they're not. They're a very specific role who have honour is a big thing in Wintermark, and they have very specifically taken a vow that they will not engage with the enemy in battle because they will take care of the wounded. So they're ensuring their honour in battle to do that.
Yeah, and what's fascinating about all this stuff is it plays out,
Yeah.
right? It's not just something that you write down. It's something that actually has real world effects, and you can see it actually being done, right? That's a real world effect of this choice.
But because Grimnir archetype exists, that doesn't mean to say you can't be a healer in the front line in Wintermark. You can, you're just not a Grimnir.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and the archetypes, if you don't fancy any of the archetypes that are available in your nation, you don't have to have an archetype.
Okay, so then there was your employment, I think the other one, where you can be a fleet.
So that's your resource.
That's your resource, right.
So
okay.
we used to run a game called Maelstrom, which had an immensely complicated downtime that everybody still has nightmares about.
Right. Like those homework dreams that you have. You know.
So when Empire was started, there was a certain determination that we would not have Maelstrom downtimes in it. So and that feeds into the one hat rule as well. So everybody has one resource that they can do one thing with, to make it just simple. So you pick something like, you can have a mana site which gives you mana crystals, or you can have herb garden which gives you herbs, or you can have a business which gives you cash. And then occasionally there may be another option, like if you're a fleet, you could have joined the raid on.
Is this something that you can change later on, or are you, once you lock it in, that's the way it is?
So for new players, we'll change it for free.
Yeah.
And for older players, you can change it with a fee to the civil service.
A what?
A fee.
How much is the fee?
Oh,
£2.
I think it's £2.
£2. Because I'm actually thinking about swapping out. Because I currently have a business, which means that I basically provide the beer money for everyone when we go to an event, which is great. I love it. Yeah. It's fun. But I think I'm now getting to the point where I want to make money in character more. Yeah. So, and I've for the first time ever, I've read The Winds of War, which we'll get to. But now I'm like, I want a piece of that action. You know what I mean? Yes, like I want to be driving storyline and doing things like this. You know, so. Think about maybe getting myself a little military unit or something, or a fleet. Maybe military. I don't know.
Military units are good ways to.
Well, also there's a skirmish on the Friday, I think it is. Only if you sent your military units there. So I'm like, oh man, I want to go, but I can't because I didn't have a military unit, and my character should have a military unit. And why is he doing a business? This is ridiculous. You know, I'm like, yeah, so good. That's a good thing to know. I can go to the civil service and.
So we're pretty flexible about character skills in general, because there's no point just keeping on trying. If something's not fun, we will change skills for you.
But then, like, now I'm getting into it. Like, religion's getting more interesting to me. Like, and how my character views the religion. Like, I definitely feel like my character's getting kind of a bit into the religion, a bit zealousy, you know what I mean? Like he's really, you know, kind of into his version of what he thinks it is, you know? So, lots of different options. Right, is there anything else on that page that we need to go through? Yeah, I think important, you said it there, if you're a new player, you can do it. If you aren't feeling what you're doing is right, you can always change it. Yes. That's really important, so don't feel too much pressure. I know that some of the new guys that we're going with were really intimidated by it when it's so, and I was as well. But now I've been doing it a little while, I went back to the same page and looked through my own stuff, and I was like, these aren't that bad. Ooh, location, right? It tells you where your resource is or whatever. And that's one thing that threw me when I first did it. So I think I just picked one randomly as a location, but turns out those locations can sometimes have real world effects. I think I got a crap load more money last time because something happened. So when I got my pack, I was like, holy crap, I'm loaded.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
Well, Navarre's a little bit different. So the nations are split down into territories, which are basically counties.
Yeah.
Navarre obviously is a bit different because you're scattered across the map where there's areas of woodland. And
there's also baddies in some of those regions, which is in my region, Leafhaven.
Yes.
Yeah, that's where my business is, right? So I'm like, oh damn, why don't I set up my business here when there's Jotun soldiers running around raiding the place?
There's a whacking great big lawn there, isn't there?
Yeah, whacking great. But then I've kind of like taken that on now. Like I got some 3D printed teeth. So my story is that I've been up in the woods basically killing animals and Valorn and brewing moonshine while I've been up there, and that's what I've been doing over the kind of since the last event, you know. So it kind of works. I quite like it, you know.
That's your business.
That's my business. Yeah. Is selling hide and moonshine basically, like any good.
Well, of course, I'm homeless at the moment because I'm from Simasuak, which is full of Jotun.
I mean. Jotun galore up there.
Full to the edges of the Jotun.
Yeah. Okay, let's go into so we're kind of going through the regions. I reckon if you are kind of stuck on which region to pick, you can always go through and look on the wiki and learn a bit more about it. And actually, that really helps with character because you can be like, oh, there's dense woodland where I am, or it's a commercial hub where I am.
There's key points in each territory's picked out on their page in the wiki, which can give you sort of local talking points as well.
It's really interesting. There's so much in there. Anyway, no spoilers. Just go and have a look. So you've got your character.
So yeah, I think the important thing to do is to give yourself something to do during the day when you're not doing whatever your thing is, because you won't be doing that all day.
Yeah.
So give yourself something to care about or something you want to find out more about.
Yeah.
Because that gives you an excuse to go and talk to people.
Oh, yeah, backstory. Like, all of my friends and me all have tragic backstories. We all do, right?
Something terrible happened in the Empire about 30 years ago, resulting in hundreds and hundreds of orphans.
Yeah. I mean, thousands of them.
It could be, I'm just going to throw this out there, it could be the fact that the Empire's been at war, like, basically constantly for that entire time.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's legit to have a tragic backstory.
It is legit. There's nothing wrong about it.
Like mine is, I was deeply in love, got married, and then a briar went mental and murdered my wife. So I hate briars. That's my one character trait is my dislike and mistrust of briars. But it's brilliant. It's like it's always worked out well for me. Unfortunately, there are some really nice briars who I'd love to be friendly with.
I see, really but nice. There is something going to go wrong.
Hey, you can trust them now. I'm telling you, sometime soon they're going to go mental, and then you'll come to me crying.
But that's nice because you've given yourself a hook and something.
Yeah.
To play with.
I think one thing I'd like to do as well is maybe not as a Navarre player, but if I switch nations, is be a little bit racist towards orcs. Like you can't be racist against other people for
out of character stuff. Any out of character.
In character stuff.
Bad. In character stuff, we love it.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Face it, orcs haven't got souls anyway, have they?
Oh, come on, man. See, I quite like...
They don't even go in the labyrinth.
No, they don't go in the labyrinth, do they? There's something shifty about them. But
it's all right.
Yeah, and what's all the drumming about? What are they up to in there? I
feel Chris cursing me as we talk.
What's all the drumming? What's all the yelling about? There's something that's not right. But no, my actual character actually quite likes orcs. Like we respect them a lot, and also just my experiences on the battlefield have made me really respect orcs because they absolutely, they die like the rest of us on the battlefield for the Empire. So I don't know. They
are a fantastic group.
Yeah, even if they can be a bit rude, it's still nice. Right. So character creation. I think we kind of nailed that. Really,
the important thing is to give yourself a reason to talk to people because again, being a mysterious stranger sounds great until you find yourself standing at the back of every conversation. You
can't all be, what's his name, Aragorn off Lord of the Rings, sitting in the bar, smoking his pipe, just doing a thing. You can do that, and I think there is a certain element of the game which, if you just want to show up and be a tourist and just walk around and look at things, you can definitely do that, right? There's nothing inherently wrong with you just viewing things from an external if you're not necessarily the most confident person in the world.
No, there's nothing wrong with it at all. Just if you don't give yourself a reason to talk to people, it can be quite hard to go and talk to people, I think.
Yeah, I think the first moment of time in when we actually first went, that's it. Like, that could be hard, right? That can be really, really tough because you don't know what's going on. and everyone's kind of standing around. There are some people that clearly know each other, so you feel there's a clique. I don't think there necessarily is. There might be, but it's never really affected us. And my perception isn't valid, you know. And you're kind of waiting for something to hook you into, to try and drag you into the world. It will happen.
I posted about it on the new player board a couple of weeks ago because I went to Flying Lead, which was at a site I hadn't been to before, was a game I hadn't been to before, and I wasn't going with my usual group of friends.
Right.
And it was just a completely alien sort of quick panic of, I'm going to get this wrong, I don't know the rules, everybody's going to be looking at me. Yeah. Which obviously makes me a massive hypocrite because I tell everybody each year that that's not a problem.
I think that's one thing that's interesting as well. Like it's even now 3 events in, I'm starting to forget what it was like in those first few hours when I first went LARPing. It's a really intimidating process if you haven't done anything like this before. And like solo LARPers. Oh my God! Like the
much respect.
Just ridiculous. Like I've met a couple of guys who went solo, and I'm like, "What? You went by yourself?"
But we're obviously welcoming enough that people think that people are confident to do that.
Yeah, and I think it's for some people it can be a fairly freeing, because maybe we all carry a little bit of baggage with our friends, right? They expect us to be a certain thing or not, and I think that's something that's to be said about LARP is. You can be something else if you want to be. If you want to be and you want to try it out, even if you get it wrong, it doesn't matter. You can keep on going and figure it out and make it work. So maybe if you are going by yourself and you're nervous about it and you're not entirely confident about who you are, well, come be someone else for a weekend. You know what I mean? Like, give it a try, see what happens.
Also, if you're going on your own and you haven't got any friends with you, it's probably a lot easier to be in character because you haven't got your friends as that pole to real life.
Yeah,
it's true, but I think it probably can be quite tough, and I would advise anyone if they are nervous and they're going on their own to make contact with some people who are going to be at the event before the event, so that they've got some places to kind of go and some interactions to have.
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
You did that, didn't you?
Yeah. Ian did that with a guy in Eurozen. I think we generally tried to get an idea of what we wanted to do while we were there at our first event. We had a few ideas of our intentions. We had a game plan-ish, you know what I mean, of what we wanted to experience and do.
I keep meaning to make a post about what to do in Anvil when you don't know what to do in Anvil. And now I've said it, I've got to do it.
I do think ideally you want to be in a group.
Yeah.
I think it's a game for groups mostly.
It is very much set up as a game for groups.
Or joining other groups. Like, we have a couple of guys, I won't say their names on here, but they're like, they were solo, and now they're kind of very welcome with us, but they're also welcome with other people. In fact, I asked one guy, do you want to join our striding? You know what I mean? If you're not up to much, if you're not busy, maybe you could join us. He was like, yeah, I've kind of got a few different. I know.
It's backup striding.
Oh, I know. It's just like it burnt a little bit. I'm only joking, but it's like I was so nervous. Like, do you want to join my striding? And they were like, yeah. So we'll see what happens this event. But, I think there are lots of groups out there that are really willing to take new people on. I would say go around and talk to lots of different people. There are some.
Put a shout out on the Facebook groups.
Shout out on the Facebook group. Also, you might be able to also find other players who are also new to Anvil going as well, and they're also in the same boat as you, and you could probably team up if you have similar values. Which is the Facebook groups are a really great resource for that, right? You can kind of put stuff out there. They can also be a little bit intimidating, I think, for some in something. Like if you post something, right, and you're not entirely sure about something, and then you get a wall of people saying you're wrong for these reasons. It may be nice, but I think the nature of Facebook makes is everyone sound combative, right?
Difficult, awful place, isn't it?
It is. It's an absolute double-edged sword.
You can't put any
right?
nuance on text at all.
No, none. And it can sound if someone says something to you like, no, this is totally off brief, and it gets like 20 likes on their comment, and you're sitting there going, oh my God, I feel like a fucking idiot right now.
I'm trying to shut down internal comments on the new player support page when the question's actually been answered.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we need 20 variations. Yes.
No, it's. I mean, no one's got the right answer to how to operate in social media, right? If we knew how to do that, this wouldn't be. We wouldn't even be talking about it, right? There's a whole new world that we are experiencing now for everyone, right?
Yeah.
And how we interact with each other, the tone of how we talk to each other, can be totally misconstrued, right? Like Like you might say something which is the most generic question ever that's been asked 1,000 times before, and people meme at you because it become a meme.
Yes.
That can be crushing. You know what I mean? Like, as a new player, the person posting it is all in lightheartedness, probably thinking that you'll laugh along with the joke, right? But you don't get it. So take all of that with a pinch of salt. If there's anything to do with your character that you're concerned about or want to talk about, email PD.
Yes, please do.
Just don't worry about it, right?
And report posts on Facebook as well, because we're moderating. We've made official. They didn't. The Facebook groups didn't used to be official, but they now are. Mm-hmm. Which means that PD are moderating them.
Oh, interesting. Because that must be fairly recent, right?
In the last couple of years, we've been slowly taking control.
Good.
So we're moderating them now. So and we're keen to keep improving how they operate.
Yeah, I think like I said, this is we're all learning. I think don't take anything. If someone's mean to you, that's their bad, not yours. Most of the time, people are pretty awesome, right?
We've got 1,800 players in that field.
Yeah, and compared to
if you talk to somebody and they're unfriendly, go and talk to the other 1,798.
Yes,
because the only thing they've lost is that comes
massively.
Yeah, they're the ones who've lost out on that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and I think there are lots of good people out there that are willing to really put some time and effort into helping you. And also, the one thing I really like some players do is explaining stuff in character to you.
How you to handle.
Yeah, like they've got a good. They can keep in character but explain to you rules and the world that you live in, and I find that really interesting. It's a talent that I would definitely like to start trying to implement this year. Right. Let's get to. So we're going to skip kit stuff because I think there's a lot of that stuff that you can kind of work out, right? There's a lot of resources out there already that you can talk about.
It's aspirational. You don't have to be good straight away.
Yes.
You just got luck to improve.
Footwear's good. Lots of socks. That sort of thing.
Yes.
Yeah, there's loads of good resources
Plan
on
for
there.
it being boiling hot and freezing cold at the same time.
Yeah, and don't get as unlucky as we did in our first event, which was at E1 last year, which was brutal.
And the other big thing on that is ask for help.
Yeah.
If your tent floods, if you're freezing to death, ask for help.
Yeah. Empire do a podcast. They did a really good new player one. You talk a lot about how people share kit in that, and I found that really, really sweet that people are willing to kind of like help people out, And we started doing that actually without even. It wasn't like a conscious thing. Like one guy didn't have a weapon for a skirmish, and we had a couple of spare weapons, so we ended up lending him weapons. And it's something so small, but then you don't realize how much that might mean to someone else. You know what I mean? So yeah, be nice to each other. Like Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. You know what I mean? Like help people out, and then
because sometimes it's your tent that's collapsed, and sometimes it's somebody else's.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've also had donated some pop-up tents and like spare sleeping bags and stuff. If people get flooded out and they ask, we can provide some stuff.
Yeah.
Well, this is it. If something goes wrong and you don't ask, there is nothing worse than getting back from the event and seeing a comment on Facebook a week later about how somebody was so cold or their tent flooded and they had to go home, and if they'd just said something we could have fixed it.
Yeah, it's also there's real world stuff in here as well, like looking after yourself at an event. I think some people like eat food, try and get hot food in you, don't wear wet clothing if you can avoid it, try and dry your stuff out. Get some sleep. You know what I mean? That last one.
I need to be told that one.
Yeah, sometimes that can be more challenging than others, especially if you're in the Navarre camp and you're like the songs and story times going on. That can, you know what I mean? Anyway, there are. If you're getting cramp, you've probably got lack of potassium or salt in your diet, right? You're not drinking enough fluids. You know what I mean? These are all things that people easily forget.
Yeah, and not many of us are used to being outside and walking around all day.
No, absolutely.
Which I know sounds really obvious.
Yeah.
But it's so easy to get dehydrated, even if it's not sunny.
I also jammed up my knee a couple of times, and that was because, like, very simply, how often do I go running on fields? You know what I mean? Like it's not something I really do that often, and therefore my body kind of like, you can kind of pick up weird little injuries or aches and pains from something that you don't do. There is actually a LARP fit group that's actually pretty good. They kind of encourage people to kind of like get exercise, and if LARP's the thing that wants to get you fit and healthy, then why not, right?
Yeah, I know people who go jogging in chainmail.
Yeah. Oh really?
Ready
that's what
for
they
battle
do.
Season, yeah.
That's hilarious. Do you know what I was thinking about, like putting weights on my arms and stuff when I go running now? Because I've started running because of my knee problems.
Yeah.
Just to kind of condition my body a bit to try and get used to the idea of running around. And now I figure, even if I can't fight very well, my cardio is pretty good. I can run away. I can run laps around the field.
Good cardio is massively overpowered in
It's the best skill you can have. Cardio. Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally agree. I'm just going to be like, if I'll hold them back, but my real plan is I'm going to hold them back for a couple of minutes and then run faster than they can away. You know, so yeah, that's my plan.
Eating. I mean, I still do it now. You know, I'll eat after my next job. And then 6 hours later, I haven't eaten anything.
Yeah, massively. We've actually got a brazier now, so we've got a little like barbecue effectively.
Yeah.
And we're gonna bring food with us. We're gonna bring cool boxes to keep everything nice, so it doesn't get nasty, and try and get food. Because we did that last time briefly. We had a couple of bits for breakfast. Dramatic change on.
It's bizarre, isn't it?
I mean, really, food's pretty good. You know what I mean? It really helps out in a lot of different aspects.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
cognitive and like physical change. Yeah, just good stuff. Really.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I ate some food and I had some sleep and then I felt a lot better.
Yeah.
What could this mean?
Yeah. I was thirsty and then I drank water and then I felt better.
Yeah.
So yeah, but we joke about this, but it's really easy to forget, right?
Absolutely easy. It's good to have a water skin or a bottle of water, and when you think I'm a bit hungry, eat. Even if you keep bags of nuts in your pocket, pull one out. That's a good start.
Water bearers on the field have been absolute godsends. Like I drink litres when I'm running around, especially when you're in full kit.
Yeah.
Like last year, I think it was E3 or E4, I think. It was so hot and I was sweating buckets and running around, and I finished off my water so fast. But there were lovely water bearers who came over and helped us out. I would say from my personal point of view, if you're dehydrated and you're near me, I don't know if you know what I look like, but ask.
There's standpipes all around the edges of the field as well.
What are they?
Standpipes with taps.
Oh, are there?
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that.
They're
really good.
They're in the hedgerow.
Huh.
There's a few of them around site.
On the battlefield?
No.
Not on the battlefield.
Oh, not on the battlefield. Yeah, no, I've seen the ones on the...
main
I was
field.
going to say, yeah.
Yeah, no, not on the battlefield.
No, there are lots of water sources. Even if you have to bring a plastic bottle with you just to fill that up, make sure that you're taking care of that stuff at the camp.
I've seen a couple of people who suggest getting normal sort of 500ml plastic bottles and put them in a sock.
Yeah, that's an excellent idea, actually. Yeah. We tend to do it before time in. We'll fill up a couple of bottles and then have them in the tent. And then if we're running low, I tend to wake up a little bit earlier than everyone else and sneak off to the camp, so it's not too jarring for people, you know. But yeah,
not that people mind you carrying a bottle of water across the field.
No. I mean, and also there's this weird early morning where no one's fully committed to RPing before a certain time that I've noticed. Like if you're scratching your bum and walking along in your trainers because you need to quickly get to the lube at about 8 a.m. No one's gonna get too upset about that, you know. Especially seeing that some people might be walking past you on their way back from a night out who don't want to make any eye contact with anyone, you know. Yeah, right. So let's get to the actual Friday, right? So you get to the event. You guys shift into hyper gear at that point and are this wonderful resource, right? Like so
my event starts at 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock in the
Friday
morning. Yeah.
No, it doesn't. My event starts 8 o'clock Thursday night.
Thursday night. And you guys bust your balls for the whole time, right? Like you're really working hard over that time. What sort of stuff do you put on for the new players?
So Thursday night we have an informal thing. I and any of the aggregors or player support team who are on site, we hang out just outside the Senate building, which is the other permanent structure on site that's not the bar.
So where is the Senate building? How would you identify it and find it?
So my central point on the field is the God tent.
Yeah.
That's my base point for things.
Yeah.
So that's a big white marquee which is just out of the main field.
Yeah, it's basically if you follow the main strip through Anvil,
and then,
right?
Yeah, there's the main drag down the hill.
Mm-hmm.
So the Senate building's all the way down the bottom, the main drag on the right.
Yeah.
Before you turn up to go to the Navarre camp.
Yeah, go on Navarre. Yeah.
Yeah, at least. So we just hang out there because if anybody's on the field and a bit at a loose end, they can come down and chat to us.
Yeah, most people know where that is as well. So if you just stop pretty much anyone and just ask them where you can find this person, or even if you just want to say where is Clare Evans, they'll probably point you in the right direction, right?
Yes.
Which is pretty good.
So that is absolutely informal, but we just hang out there for a couple of hours, and if anybody's at a loose end, they can come and talk to us. Quite often we see players turn up on their own and leave with other new players.
Yeah.
Haven't met them there.
Yeah, we made a couple of friends throughout the process of the new player stuff in. Also, if you're a solo player, that's also a nice place that you can kind of maybe make some contact with people. Right, and then you do player introduction type things.
So Friday. Yeah, I went to Friday.
Yeah, let's go Friday.
So Friday morning I have the head department meeting.
Yeah, that must be fun.
At which I get to say, nothing's happened yet.
Okay, yeah.
And everybody else talks about site setup.
Okay.
And then we start Friday afternoon. So we used to just run the new player meetings, which was just well, it seems crazy now, because when we started them 4 or 5 years ago, we'd get about 10 people, and we'd just have a bit of a chat.
Yeah.
And now we get
a packed marquee every time.
Packed marquee.
And
it's had to become more formal.
There's benches, but people were standing on the one I went to.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and I think that's fairly common now. Right. Yes. It's pretty full.
So now we do them in a more formal manner, because we used to be able to just chat about whatever people wanted, but we're happy to chat with people afterwards. And
very much so. I would say that. Right. There's a kind of presentation where there's different. Like egregores and people like that, they come out and have a bit of a chat. You have a bit of a chat about what to kind of expect and things that you can do. My one piece of takeaway that I got from that is one guy said, just say yes.
That was Al.
Best piece of advice you could possibly have. If there's something going on and you're interested in it, say yes and get involved, you know?
Yeah, because we found that everybody, when you ask for advice about going to an event, everybody tells you to bring socks. Which is brilliant advice, because there is nothing better than get back to your tent tonight and put a dry pair of socks on before you
nice
do your
pair of
sleeping
clean,
bag.
dry
It's brilliant.
socks.
It's great advice. But that's not advice on playing the game.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so what we say is say yes. Life's too short for boring meetings.
Yep.
And I can't, what's the other bit?
Is it that will change your skills?
Oh yeah, and if you're not having fun, do something else.
Yeah.
But just say yes. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, I think that counts even on a battlefield, right? If you're not having fun, just stick your hand up and get the hell out of there. And there's so many situations, right? Like you can always just say to someone if you're not comfortable with anything, just say, right?
Yeah, we're not interested in people having a bad time.
Yeah.
And we're especially not interested in anybody being uncomfortable or upset or scared, because that's not what the game's about.
Totally. New player meeting, really, really good. You also run a battle meeting, is that right?
What do you got here? Dave's just found my timetable for me.
Right, let's quickly blast through it.
So we've been expanding more and more every year, because we've just discovered that we can do it, and it's great. So Nick Turner runs, it's down on the list as weapons training, but it's more a sort of battle talk and a weapons talk suite.
Nick Turner's legit, by the way. Really like that guy. He's awesome.
He's just abandoned Navarre for Dawn, so
I know,
I don't know if you want to change your mind.
But he's kept his tattoos, so just saying, you can take the boy out of Navarre. But
so they meet just outside the Sentinel Gate at 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock, and he talks through weapon safety and how to fight.
Yeah. And
the idea of the sort of epic combat we want.
Yeah, very competent in talking about all things combat, right, and safety. It's very, very important, right? Yeah.
So then we also run the new player skirmish, because what we realised is a lot of people haven't been hit.
I think also, like, I was thinking, am I going to hurt someone, or am I going to be hurt during a battle? It's remarkably safe for what you're actually proposing, like 1,000 people on a side, all with their own big pointy things running at each other and attacking each other. You'd think it'll be terrible, right?
Well, it's exactly what you said. A lot of people haven't hit somebody or been hit.
No.
So you don't know how much it's going to hit you or how much you're going to hit somebody else.
Yep.
So the new player skirmish, we limit it to new players, and we have a handful of experienced players and crew who we've picked to be involved in it. So we have all the new players. We have a box of orc masks from the battle team.
Nice.
We split them into 2, and everybody gets a chance to be an orc and try the masks on.
Yep.
And fight each other. And we do a fighting retreat as well, because Tim Baker tells us that's what the Emperor is lacking in skills with.
Hugely. Oh my god, the amount of times that you're like, aha, and then everyone around you runs away, and you're, really...
So Tim's heavily involved in the new player skirmish, and I think he's trying to indoctrinate fighting retreats in from the ground up.
Well, me and Ian are both, we're kind of like history nerds, basically, so we love some historical battle stuff, and it's really interesting to see how real world tactics can be extremely effective on a
Or
fantasy
not at
battle,
all.
or not at all as well at the same time, right? Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's something I'm particularly interested in, kind of like when I'm on the field, and maybe something I want to do in the future is looking at tactics and how they work. It's really interesting. But
You should go up and talk to my war scout.
Your war scout?
Yeah.
Who's that?
I have a war scout who's in a tent just outside the Sentinel Gate, and he's got a big sand pit to draw in.
Oh, really?
And discuss terrains and tactics before you go on quests and skirmishes.
I'm so excited! Oh my goodness!
Yep.
A sand pit? I can play.
Yeah, he's got a big sand pit for you to
if
draw
I can
in.
push stuff around and draw arrows,
Yes.
maybe with a stick.
Yeah,
Oh my
it's like
goodness.
if you're going to go on a skirmish, then you can talk to him beforehand, and he might be able to tell you like a little bit about what you're expecting to see when you go through the game.
That's awesome. Hey, I didn't know that. Great knowledge.
It's quite new.
I love doing a podcast. I get to learn stuff. It's brilliant. Yeah, cool. So what else is there on the Friday?
So we've also got, he pointed at things, we've got Mark, who does an introduction to the Synod.
Ugh.
No, some people like religion. We've got introduction to magic, which Dave's involved in, so we better look interested.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to talk about magic at all?
Well, I'll just very briefly say, we do a talk on magic where we talk about how spellcasting works, how ritual magic works, how conclave works, and basically just variations on why, if you're a wizard, you should go and be a wizard and not listen to people who tell you what to do. That's basically what.
That's
We're
awesome.
big on going and doing what you want, not listening to other people, aren't we?
Yeah, but that's kind of like there's a lot of stuff in Empire that's like, because Empire is such a huge game, right? There's so much to the game that I don't think any one person can master. There's no one person that I do every aspect of the game.
You know when you go out and you do something either colossally bad or colossally wrong, or you just muck it up entirely. That's for the fun bit.
Yeah. Massively. In fact, the best stuff that we've possibly had happen to us have all been stuff where we've made huge mistakes.
Yes.
That's the good stuff. Like when I accidentally maybe cleaved someone during a game in Anvil and then got cleaved in return for my shenanigans. And that was awesome. You know what I mean? Like absolutely brilliant. Hobbling my way through Anvil was fantastic.
Well, you obviously don't know your own strength.
It was... I just... You know, everything I do is for the betterment of the Empire. So if sometimes I can be overzealous in that, that's fine, right? It's, you know...
Well, the orcs go down and do the battle tests with the academy for us. Which
Oh,
is
cool.
The children's...
Yeah,
It's not Hogwarts. It's totally Hogwarts.
It's a bit like Hogwarts. Yeah.
The orcs go down and one of the more overzealous cadets started executing one last year. And I don't think the orcs have quite forgiven me for that yet.
I've been thinking about doing maybe an episode on the academy because I think it's kind of interesting. I don't have kids myself, but I think there are lots of people out there that maybe have kids, want to bring them along, and it is a kind of cool environment for... Like, I wonder what it's like being a kid going to an event like that.
It must be amazing,
like,
mustn't it?
mind-blowing that all these adults
are just mucking about.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It must be great.
Yeah, cool. Right, what else? What are we up to? We did magic.
I think...
Public speaking.
Oh, so this is our new one, which I'm quite proud. Unfortunately, we've lost our... we were doing signing classes last year.
Oh, really?
Which sign language
Cool.
classes, but they're not attending this year, so we aren't running those.
Okay.
Which I'm quite sad about.
Yeah, lame.
But we've got Martin Hobbs from Dawn who's doing public speaking classes
Oh, interesting.
from 1 o'clock in the Hall of Worlds. And we tried it event 4 last year, and yeah, it was fantastic.
Public speaking is a funny one because I've always been a fairly chatty person, but and fairly confident in front of large groups. But I've noob froze a few times at Anvil where I'm presented with something, I know what I want to say, and nothing comes out right.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, even for your bullshit, pig-headed people like me, it can be quite intimidating talking to people, especially when you're not necessarily confident in the context of what you're talking about, you know. So, but I've seen people really shine, you know, like there's some people out there that you kind of look at and think, this naturally doesn't come to you, but you're learning new skills as you're doing it, you know.
We were talking about that in the car when we were driving up this morning about there's a lot of talk about what we've learned from LARP, and I did elocution lessons when I was young because my mother didn't want me to be a proper Pembrokeshire girl.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Nothing wrong with a Pembrokeshire girl.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
saying.
but I could talk so fast.
Yeah.
So I did, the obligatory reading in church and school assembly and things like that goes with the territory.
Sure.
But I was never really comfortable reading in front of talking in front of crowds, and I've gone from that to doing 2 new player meetings to 100 people each at events. And it's like a presentation at work now to 4 people. That's nothing.
Well, it's interesting how, I think, I genuinely feel that human beings are incredibly adaptive, right? Like, we learn things, from the basics of, if you think of it like exercise, right? If you lift a heavy thing every day, your body learns to get good at lifting heavy things, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with talking or interacting with people, social interactions, pretty much everything. That's why we're so successful on Earth, right? And I would say that LARP gives people a really nice sandbox environment to maybe explore certain parts of their personality that maybe they're not the most confident about in a safe environment,
So one of the big things I think about the sort of the whole player support team is that our entire job is to give confidence.
That's true. That is completely true. I haven't really thought about that, but that's a great succinct way to put up what the actual new player crew actually do, is actually to give people the confidence to exist in the world, right?
Yeah, and to take away the doubt. So, we'll answer any question, because if answering that question gives you a bit more confidence to go on the field and do it, that's great. That's our win.
Yeah. Hell, even at this stage, I'm thinking about doing something for Song and Story Time. I haven't worked out exactly what we're doing yet. But we're Ian's written something out, and I want to bug him to get him done, and he needs a second person, a foil to do it with. Yeah. So I think we're going to do that, and I think that's something that we're kind of, and that isn't something I would ever do anywhere else.
Songs and Stories is fantastic, and Gabby is so good at supporting people and getting people up there.
Gabby's so good.
Yeah.
I find Song and Story Time is
award-winning Gabby.
Award-winning Gabby. Yes. That's also true. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I got a bit into looking up stuff. Also, I found out that the guy from Nightmare, the kids' TV show Nightmare, presented the awards. What's that?
He kissed me.
Which cheek? Not just saying. Yeah. Now I want a LARP award, because I was like, how do I get a LARP award? Do they have one for podcasts? That very specific new player podcast? No. If there was any other, we would definitely lose. We'd always be the runners up. You know what I mean? So, no, yeah, definitely want a LARP award if that guy's presenting, just so I can meet him. That'd be amazing. But sorry, I completely lost my train of thought there.
No, but it's lovely, because things like Songs and
Story Time, right?
People are just supporting people, encouraging people, and giving them confidence to do all sorts of
things.
things.
There's one guy there. He tells stories, and I don't want to say his name because I don't want to. We don't mention people's names that we haven't spoken to directly.
I've just been mentioning names.
God damn. Well, you know them. I don't. That's the difference, right? But he does these. He's so good at storytelling. He's just an absolute master orator, and whenever he starts, I'm like, shut the fuck up, okay? This is going to be good, whatever it is. So. Yeah, it's an absolute treat going and hanging out, especially after a couple of beverages, and you just want to kind of hang out and watch. I really enjoy Song and Story Time. Yeah, good.
I think that's a great thing to aim to do at the event as well, because if you set yourself up with an opportunity where there's a space where you're going to do a set piece thing that you've prepared and you know kind of what you're going to do, then you go out and you've got a time to do it, you perform your thing. People are generally pretty receptive to that kind of thing, and then bang, you're part of the game world because you've just created that scene.
Yeah, it's a nice way. That's an interesting. But I think that can expand to a lot of different game aspects, right? If you're building yourself up, I'm going to go to a skirmish. I'm going to really put myself out there. I'm going to be brave, and I'm going to fight, and that comes off as a successful action. You get those huge endorphin rush from having done something that you found challenging, that you wanted to do, that you built yourself up to, and then you complete it. Or you fail, either way,
if you
right?
Fail it, you have to own it then.
Right, exactly.
that's what we were saying, that when it goes wrong, that's the fun bit.
Totally, massively, yeah. I think there's a lot to that, actually. Yeah.
It's like there's no point in having a secret unless it comes out.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I've actually got a little secret that I'm playing around with. So yeah, I'm still nervous because I don't want to get burnt at the stake for heresy, basically. So we'll see how that works out, though. I kind of like the idea of getting done for heresy, though. That's kind of also part of it, because they have to bring you to a trial, and then everyone talks some stuff, and then I'll be like,
But,
and then just start mouthing off when they're going to execute
and
me.
another thing.
Yeah, exactly. And the hypocrisy. Yeah, a lot of finger waving, you know. Fantastic.
We haven't talked about, because can we talk about the sport on the field?
We can literally talk about anything you want to talk about. Yeah, let's talk about it.
Because I can go on for ages
There's-
about this.
It's digital. There's no such thing as
You
tape.
can just keep cutting me off, yeah.
Yeah.
So, on the field we've got the egregores.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's at least one egregore in every nation now.
Yep.
2 in the Orcs,
Yes. Okay. Cool. Just check. Yep. Good.
So they are members of PD crew who are part of the player support team and are in each nations to support players.
Yeah.
So if you're in your nation, you don't know what to do, you don't know how to get involved in things, anything from plot to how to be a broker in the Navarre, you can go and talk to your egregore, and asking people, do you know where our egregore is a perfectly valid in character question.
Speaking of developing skills, egregores must develop the patience skill to 100 very quickly, because I've never had my interaction with egregores have always been I've been a bit kind of like information dump off them, like I'm using them like a wiki, but their patience and like tolerance of like all that stuff is remarkable. And now I've like played a bit more of the game, I'm so cringy at myself when I first started, you know.
We know what we signed up for, so
right.
It's literally our job to be asked questions and to hook you up with people and, well, yeah, all of that stuff.
I have cashed in every bit of social capital I have recruiting egregores, I think.
I think the egregores is such a good idea within a nation, just because sometimes you can be fairly intimidated by, like, certain people might RP quite gruffly or short with people, right? And that's RP, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? So if someone's short with you, it might just be their character.
Yes.
But egregores are lovely.
Assume it's in character first.
Massively, 100%. Always assume it's in character. Egregores are a wonderful, like, little, just like a rock in the ocean you can just go to and be like, oh, I'm kind of lost, I want to do this, how do I do this? And they'll kind of walk things through with you.
And introduce you to people. So the egregores aren't nation leaders.
Yeah.
They're like Uncle Sam or Britannia, they're the embodiment of the nation.
Yeah.
And they are there to support. So one of the big things to do, because they've got a lot of information to remember, and if they don't know information, what we talk about is then they go with you to find somebody else. Because if you talk to another player, that's a win for us anyway.
Sure. Yeah.
Because you know somebody else to say hi to later.
Yeah.
You know somebody else to go and talk to. So they do a lot of helping people network in the nation and introducing.
And you'll be surprised at how quickly you build up a network of people you know.
Yes.
Right? Like, I'm 3 events in now, and I have like little contacts and people in different areas around the game world within Navarre and other nations that I can kind of like, if there's a problem in Dawn, I got a friend in Dawn. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can go and talk to that person and kind of ask them and kind of get a bit more information, which I find really good, you know? And it happens very quickly. I think that's mainly because of people, again, are in the same boat as you. Sometimes you can kind of look inward at yourself and be like, oh, I need... Probably there's lots of other people that feel the same way.
There's no reason that you as Navarre couldn't go to the Dawn egregore and say, who in your nation would be good for me to speak to about...
That's a good idea. So if you wanted to go and kind of like learn something about another nation, go to their egregore and ask for someone, they'll be like, Janice is Janice a Dawn name? I don't know. Go and ask Janice if they can help you. Janice? I don't know. I don't even know a Janice. Weird. Right, yeah.
And then we've got the civil service as well.
Who are the civil service then? Tell me about them.
So the egregores are national, and they're very national, and the other thing to say with them, I think some people expect them to be good, as goodies.
Right.
But they're not.
Okay.
But they are, but they're national first.
Right.
So if you're doing something dodgy in Navarre in the national interest...
That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of my attitude as a character, though, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're also not going to grass you up to the militia. So if what you're asking is, how do I do this thing which is in the national interest, but it happens to be illegal, the egregore is not going to immediately grass you up. They might say, you're putting me in a little bit of a difficult position here, why don't you talk to experts?
Now I'm complicit.
Yeah, but they are there to support the nation.
They're not there to ruin your game.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And they're there to support the dodgy characters as well.
That's a really valuable point that you just made, though, because it means that you can bounce... If you want to do something that might be a little bit risky or a little bit illegal, you can still go to your egregore and ask them about it.
You
how
can
you
always
can actually do it.
talk in hypotheticals.
Yeah. Say if I was hypothetically going to steal someone's money, for example, then you could, right?
Yeah, they'll probably explain the consequences of it to you as well, but it's...
Yeah, maybe we should talk about if you were going to do... Say if you... Let's hypothetically say you were going to go and murder someone. You would need... What would be your process of advising someone who wanted to do that?
A good reason.
A good reason is a really good first point of call, right?
Rather you didn't do that.
Yeah, rather you didn't... No, what's it called?
So
Murder hobos or whatever?
Anvil's our capital city.
Yeah.
And it's got an active law and order system. We've got the magistrates and the militia. So the
What's the difference between the magistrate and militia?
So magistrate is a member of PD crew.
Yep.
So they are the ones who pass judgment.
Yeah.
And then we've got the militia, who are players who have joined the militia to investigate crime. And
it's so awesome. It's something that I'm actually kind of curious about.
What I'm most impressed about is how often they catch the right people.
I know. There's a lot of... I can't talk about it now, but there's loads of stuff to do with this that... Yeah. Spoiler E1, I'm definitely going to try and look into a few bits and pieces. I had
But you'd think it'd be easy to commit crime and get away with it, and it's really
no.
not.
And also there are secret groups that are not secret because all it takes is one person to chat, and then that spreads like wildfire. And trying to keep things secret at Anvil must be pretty difficult. You know.
I think if I was a player, I think I'd enjoy being in the militia. I'd like to be some sort of medieval super cop doing dogged police work.
Yeah, there's a PI in Navarre now, which I think is an amazing concept. I think they're ex-militia, and they're going to be working as a PI now. What an awesome concept for as soon as they walked into my office, I knew there'd be trouble or whatever. You know, fantastic.
So I think when it comes down to it with crime, is petty crime is rubbish.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to get mugged and lose their 18 rings.
Yeah.
I mean, all the mugger gains is 18 rings, and somebody has a really crap event because they've just lost their in-character money.
Totally.
Clever crime, however.
Yeah, elaborate for a reason that has a purpose, right? And that isn't just a few rings in a pocket. That might be something a bit more political, maybe, or something like that.
Or a massive bank heist, or,
Yeah.
Just something clever.
Oh, that's exciting. Yeah, Dust City Outlaw style. That would be pretty good. Yeah. Yeah. It's not something... I'm kind of a law and ordery type, I think, despite me cleaving Dawn members. But, you know what I mean? In the service of Empire, the Empire, right?
And your heretical secret.
Yeah, well, I mean... There's a lot of grey in my character, is all I'd like to say to that. You know what I mean? I don't think anyone's strictly white or black, It's there's a lot of grey in the world. Yeah. That's a really good point. Yeah, maybe I should look at my own shit and see if it smells as bad as everyone else's. But the kind of law and order game, I can imagine, say if just someone murder hoboed me for no reason whatsoever.
That's rubbish, isn't it?
It would really piss me off, OC. You know what I mean? It would just be a kind of a damn shame. It would be fun if it led to something a bit more, a reason for it that was something elaborate that I could appreciate. Yeah. I'd like that, But if it's just
that's it. That's what you need for crime. It's a really good reason and an appreciation of the consequences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, an appreciation of the consequences. Yeah, totally. I think with we were talking about before we started recording the podcast about earning money, right? And I think that's something. I'm at that kind of point where there's a few things I could maybe want to go and purchase and buy, but generally my purpose for earning money right now is player interaction.
Yeah.
Right? Trading things, interacting with people, a good reason to walk around into a different nation and kind of interact with people. It's all pretty good fun, right? So, you can also use money to upgrade your business. Yes. No, you can use resources to do that, but you have to buy your resources in character. So that's another thing I've been learning about recently, is if I want to upgrade my business, then I should go and get some white granite or something. I can't remember the thing about it.
I'm not really involved in money stuff. It's not really my thing, but my understanding of upgrading your resources is it's actually got a very, very long payoff time.
Really long.
But people do it all the time anyway because it's permanent. They like to have that permanent improvement.
But I'm kind of torn because I get the feeling one of us is going to die soon.
Ooh.
It's just going to happen.
That comes after the conversation about murder, doesn't it?
Well, no, not even, no. Well, that's it wasn't, but yeah. No, I just think that I'm convinced that Ian's dying this year. My buddy Ian, he's definitely going to die this year. He's far too like virtuistic when he's doing physicking. You know what I mean? Like, I know he's gonna try and save someone and sacrifice himself and all that bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm gonna have to try and keep him alive. But I get the feeling, oh, let's do it. Like, what happens if you die? Right?
This is a
this is a good question. This is a question I want to ask specifically as well. If you die on the battlefield, because I was thinking about this. Say if I go down and my timer runs out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is the other thing. You'll see this on your player thing. If you read the rules, you get given a certain amount of hit points. If you get bashed that many times, you go down. You have a timer. When the timer runs out, you're permadead, right?
Yes.
If I go down on the battlefield and my timer runs out, what should I wait for someone to mourn my death or something, or should I just put my hand up and walk away? What's the kind of etiquette on that?
Well, you can go terminal.
What's terminal?
If you're dead, if your rule's dead,
yeah,
you don't have to immediately stop role playing. You can be mortally wounded and you can stagger around, knowing that you're going to die. You can do that until the end of the event. I didn't know.
That's amazing.
You can do that until the end of the event if you want.
Really?
Yes. People can drag you off the battlefield and they can
you
take
can't
you back
do
to their
anything.
tent.
But
yeah.
You can have your tragic last conversation with your lover.
I'm gonna cheese that up so
trip
much.
Your children and everything else.
Yeah, people can gather around you. And
why did you leave me?
Lie you down and put flowers on you and sing songs and stuff. You know,
that'd be nice.
There's some solid funeral scenes after those battles.
It's one of the things that I still find slightly uncomfortable when I'm RPing is someone else is dying and the wailing that happens still puts me on edge sometimes when I'm around it. But I imagine like a lot of LARP, if you're looking at it from an external point of view, it can look a bit weird. But when you're actually doing it, it's really crazy and intense and awesome, you know?
But I mean, imagine that was real. You might just not be the sort of person who likes being around people dying. I mean, that's pretty normal response.
Very true, yeah.
If you have a out of character sort of thing that affects how you play, I think it's good to write it into your character. Like, even if it's something really simple, like I'm terrified of spiders.
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier if my characters are terrified of spiders.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
So I wouldn't get up and walk off if I died on the battlefield. I'm not sure if you're allowed to, but I wouldn't anyway because not unless it was like hammering down with rain on me and I was lying in a pool of mud.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the battle's not that long anyway.
Okay. Would you go and register at the God Tent then? We haven't even talked about God Tent. What is God Tent and what does it do?
This is what I said at the start. There's so much to talk about, isn't there?
So much to talk about. We're over an hour already. Let's keep going for a bit because I'm enjoying it. So God Tent.
So God is where we run the game from.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our administration centre, our outer character administration centre. We also have an in-character one, which is the hub.
Yep. Yeah.
So the outer character administration centre is God, and that's where we do things like pick up your character packs, change your skills, get a ref, ask queries. That's your main point of contact for anything. First aid is also right by them.
Yeah.
Which is always handy.
First aid guys are really, really handy. Like I dinged my knee up a couple of times and they're so good. They're really helpful, really, really nice people. Yeah, I can't say enough nice things about them.
They're a professional team that we hire in to do events. Yep. But we've been hiring them in for a long time, so they think we're weird, but they understand LARPing. Yeah, totally. They're like, and it's also when you walk in there and you're like, got your sword and your shield and you're wearing this full battle armor and you're sweaty and whatever. They just chill. They're so cool. They ask you how the battle went and all this stuff like this. They're really cool. Yeah, big fan of them. God 10. Right. So God stands for Games Operations Desk. Yeah. Because we like a good abbreviation in LARP. It's awesome. Or LARP. Did you deliberately get it to fit? Because I like it. It's really good. God 10. Why were we talking about God? So that's when you register your death. Yes. So so my new initiative for this event. Okay. I'm quite pleased with myself. I've got a box in there which is going to be a swap box for dead characters. So you can swap your accessories in and out. Interesting. That's good. I've got a curly haired wig which I'm going to bring with me and I'm going to keep it in my car just on the off chance I die and I need a quick switcheroo to be identified as someone else. So that's going to be my thing I'm going to use hopefully. But I know that Ian's bringing, I think Bungle might as well. They're both bringing, they're going to go lineages. We haven't even talked about lineages. Jesus, terrible. We dropped the ball on that, folks. Do you want to talk about lineages for a bit? Because they're a really cool little bit to RP with, you know? Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So
Do you think we should
lineages.
plan this?
No, we never plan anything. It's fun. It's so lineages. You can be part of a nation.
So everybody's human.
Everyone's human.
Everyone's human in the world except for orcs.
Yeah.
And that is the only two playable races,
Mm-hmm.
and you can only play an orc in the Imperial Orcs.
Yep.
And there are reasons for that, which can be investigated in character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's probably the way to put it.
Yeah.
And everybody else is human, but then we have a thing called lineage,
Yes.
which is being touched by magic.
Oof.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how to word it.
That was not the right way, I don't think.
Being,
Well,
I didn't want to say tainted, because that sounds worse.
Infused.
it means there's magic in you that has changed you somewhat, so you're a bit of a mutant. It is like picking a race in a role-playing game.
Yes.
We just like a distinction between lineage and species.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah. Sure. I like. They add they're a good way to kind of add a bit of RP and character to your character, right? Is kind of how I understand it. So they can maybe drive you to behave certain ways to certain stimulus.
Yes,
effectively.
so different lineages have different character traits. So the changelings are more quick to anger, more quick to happiness, and the Merrow are more reserved.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say the Naga are lazy, but they're not.
But they're also Nagas are quite devious as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can go as far down that path as you want with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Again, it's something that maybe if you wanted to maybe do that as your first character, you could do, but maybe something that you could plan for in the future. There's lots of good resources to kind of talk about how you can aesthetically make yourself into one of these groups, right? But
Yeah, so the idea of lineage is there is a baseline of what you have to be, but you can go as far up that line as you want the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're very, very heavily made up as a snake, then we might say you're quite a high lineage Naga. Whereas someone who's just got like a few scales on their face, that's fine, they're still a Naga, but we wouldn't say that they're as high a lineage Naga.
So would that affect RP as in how you play your character, right?
It might do. But it's
It
up
might
to you.
affect how well you're probably going to react more strongly to a high lineage Briar
Yes, very much
than
so.
a low lineage Briar.
Well, they're about to go mental. Probably best put them down now, is all I'm saying. So yeah.
But for yourself, you might play the role play aspects of being a Naga quite hard and not have that much fizz rep stuff, or the other way around, and that is okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But yeah, the further along you are, the more of a Naga you are, then the closer you are to the Night Realm, effectively. And the things that live in the Night Realm are actually meant to be dragons. So you sort of.
Do you want to talk about what the Night Realm is?
I could do.
Yeah, go on.
It's a place where you can't go.
Yeah.
It's a magical realm. There are these beings called Eternals who live there, and there's one for each realm of magic. So there are 6. Do you want me to say what they are?
Go on. Yeah, let's do
We'll
it.
test him.
Yeah.
Spring, summer, autumn, winter, night and day.
Boom.
Yeah. They're magical places where magical beings live. They're not gods because they're not as powerful as gods. But they can do things that people in the Empire can't.
I understand that one person I was talking to, is this the same place where someone can go to change their lineage?
Occasionally there might be an opportunity to do something like that.
Right.
Like an Eternal of Night might be able to turn you into an Naga, but that would be like a specific plot occurrence.
Yes, this is something that I kind of heard about. There's
Yeah, because we wouldn't force a lineage change onto somebody.
no,
No,
absolutely.
it'll
It would be a
you
player
can.
choice and something
Yeah.
that they directly.
We won't
led
give you an
into.
opportunity to do it, but we wouldn't ever say.
Talking about this, I think that I should try and find someone who's an excellent person to talk about the world and maybe some history and do an episode just on that, because there's so much dense information out there that I personally would love to learn about it. So maybe something for the future. Cool. We've been going for a while now, so I think we should try and wrap up if we can. But
Yeah.
Anything else that you want to say just before leaving?
Oh, right, so on the field, things you should see.
Yep.
So there's the hub, which is where the in-character administration is done. So we've done all the in-character administration a player might do is done by the civil service, so that you don't have to do admin. You can get on with being big damn heroes.
Yeah.
So there's lots of notice boards in there. You can go in and talk to the civil servants, or you can go in and just have a look around if you're feeling a bit shy.
Mm-hmm.
The Anvil Library is run by players and is amazing.
I've never been in. My dyslexia has always made me wary about going in there.
I have never seen so much paper in a field, not covered in mud. It is amazing. But they're really friendly. They'll talk to you about things. They'll show you things.
Cool.
They're great. The Imperial Offices, which is where the Empress, who is also a player, resides.
Oh yeah, we haven't. Yeah, okay, yeah.
They're great people to visit. I know that one of her aides keeps a list of jobs for people to do if they're a bit short.
Oh, that's
People are short
interesting.
of
That's
things to
cool.
do. The Senate, which is effectively the Houses of Parliament, has a peanut gallery where you can go and sit inside and watch.
Mm-hmm.
You need to get there early because that fills up pretty quick.
Okay.
I've forgotten. The Forge.
What's the Forge?
That's the tavern.
It's the pub.
Oh yeah, well, that's kind of my area of expertise. Really, is the pub game and just wandering around getting drunk in the evening. But
So the Forge, legend has it,
Hmm.
sits on the exact site of the Forge the first Empress was in when they made the decision to form the Empire,
heavy.
which is why Anvil is called Anvil and the Forge is called the Forge.
Boom, boom! Oh my goodness! Wow.
And you know about coins, yeah?
Coins. Oh, we didn't even talk about coins.
Well, there's eight rings
Yeah.
to a crown because there was only 8 nations when they formed the Empire.
See, I did know that. That's
Yeah.
something I did know. I still struggle really hard with knowing what the coin variations to each denomination. I
Yeah.
still really struggle. So if you want to rip me off, that's still a very viable option if you're doing deals with me.
I've also said that wrong. There's 10 crowns to a throne.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's 20 rings
Yeah, to a crown.
to a crown.
And then
8 crowns
to a throne.
Because a monarch is very rich and can wear a ring on every finger and every
Mm-hmm.
toe. So 8 rings make 1 crown.
Yeah.
And when the empire was
Mm.
formed, it's 80, 20. We've done it too often.
Claire, this podcast's falling apart at this
I know.
stage.
20 rings to a crown.
Yeah.
And then there were 8 nations when the empire was formed
Yeah.
because Urizen thought they were good enough to go it alone.
Yeah.
And
Well, how'd that work out?
we hadn't really, thought properly about orcs.
Yeah.
So 8 crowns make 1 throne.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice. Nailed it.
But eventually, that was embarrassing for everybody.
I did exactly the same thing. I was like, let me explain on the podcast how the money works, and then just completely balls it up, and I had to get corrected on it. Yeah. Probably one of the more challenging aspects of the game is understanding how the money game works.
Yeah, we don't like things in base 10.
No, why not? Oh, that's so frustrating. Cool. Right. Is there anything else that you wanted to
So I
talk
think-
about?
Yeah, just say yes. Tell us if there's a problem.
Bring socks.
Done.
Done. Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, Claire, thank you very much for coming,
That's all right, I
and
really
Dave as
enjoyed
well.
it.
The go and seek them out. They're really friendly. They're really helpful. They're there to help you have a good time and facilitate that. Thank you again. Oh, and big thank you. We just started a Patreon. And I want to say a big thank you to the very, very generous people who are helping support the podcast. But thank you all for listening, as always. And let's have a wonderful year at Empire. Thanks for listening.
Right. I think we're about ready. Here, come help me put this all into our packs. Right. Grappling hook, rope, herbs, a few potions, flint and steel, ooh, some plum mead, a few thrones to lubricate any bureaucracy we should bump into, some lockpicks in case of another run-in with the magistrates, and most importantly, socks. Lots and lots of socks. Oh, and don't forget to grab one of the masks.